Welcome to Picture Perspective. My name's Jordan Kennedy. Today we're here to talk about my special interest topic, electric vehicles. I'd like to introduce Steve Bragg, who's got a great knowledge in this area. Let's go, Steve.
Oh, thanks, Jordan. It's great to be here.
Before we kick off, just a reminder, this is general advice. Should you wish to seek personal advice, please reach out to your advisor. So Steve, today I thought we'd go through the discussion in three pillars. The acquisition phase, the infrastructure phase, and the sale phase. So talk to me, as a proud two-car electric vehicle family, is it time to buy and why?
Well, look, with the fuel price increases due to the Iran conflict, we've seen a great increase in inquiry and interest in electric vehicles. It kind of makes sense. We're even seeing the stalwarts of people who were basically never going to look at an electric vehicle, kind of questioning whether or not, I should be owning a diesel or
Everybody's
petrol.
asking me, right?
Everybody. So, you think about it, 5 years ago, most people who wanted to drive an EV were doing it for environmental reasons. Now it's a financial reason. It's a family budget reason. So there's about 500,000 EVs on the road, and it's about 2% of the cars that are basically in the Australian fleet. So it's still a small amount, but we're seeing the rise in inquiry around EVs absolutely ballooning the last 2 months, March and April.
And with petrol prices increasing, do the numbers stack up?
Not really, but yes. So I think if you're looking at just the increase in the cost of a tank of fuel, it doesn't work. And that's because we're accountants and we do the numbers and we model it. The payback will be about 30 years. But what EVs do is actually gives you mobility. And that's what I think is the psyche shift in the population, the consumer. They're saying, look, I don't want to be stuck because there's a war in Iran or there's something happening in another part of the world that I don't have any influence over, to not have access to mobility. So what we're seeing, I believe, is a shift to, especially in the suburbs, and it's not inner city, it's suburbs. It's people that live in the outer suburbs of Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. They're saying, hey, I've got two cars. One will be a diesel, a petrol. The one I take on the weekends, I can go for a long drive. And the other one, my daily commute car, is an electric car. And
we've seen a lot of new brands come to the country. Is the supply there? Obviously, we're hearing heaps are stuck on docks.
Yeah.
Every brand's got supply, but is it true?
It's a bit funny because honestly, in February, there's too much supply. Literally, you could have got a used Tesla for about literally half the price of a brand new one at 12 months old. Today, there's no stock. So it just shows how the herd mentality of the consumer sort of operates. I mean, I've got stories of my BYD clients who have crowd control now. They literally have people standing outside the dealership, and they've got crowd control like security guards and there's two lines. So if you think of, like, you ever gone to Chanel or Prada, how you have to wait in line to get in. Yeah, you can't get in, and I try to make sure my wife can't. Yeah. But ultimately, they've got people waiting in line. There's two lines. There's the buyer's line, and there's the looker's line, the people that come to tire kickers. So they literally said, hey, if you want to buy a car today, get in this line. If you're just here to look, over here, and you're standing outside the dealership in a serpentine, waiting to get in.
And do we run the risk that there is such an influx of new brands that obviously some of them aren't going to make it from a warranty and from it's not really a service perspective, it's more a warranty perspective. Is there a real risk there? Should you sort of stay at the top, or, is price pays?
Look, there's two considerations when you're looking at Chinese and looking at EVs. So the battery. So the battery is an expensive component. It's the most expensive component of a EV. And so most brands that are offering EVs are offering 8-year warranties on batteries. And then there's the Chinese brand itself. So that's what you're sort of alluding to there. And the biggest issue with brand recognition and brand trust is longevity. So a lot of these Chinese brands are offering 10-year plus warranties on the cars. So they're trying to overcome that brand trust issue. If I'm a consumer, I 100% am going to go for a brand that I think is going to stay. It's hard to say which one it is, and I've got clients, so I can't really name names. But 100%, you want to make sure you're buying, and if you're buying a good quality or one that you think's going to remain, because that is a huge risk. So if I bought, and there's been examples in China where people have bought in EVs and the company goes bust. There's actually a couple in the U.S. as well, like Fisker, and unfortunately, these are connected vehicles. So once the update runs out, they become bricks. So it's like a phone that's dead, you can't do anything with.
Can't get an upgrade.
And it's basically a 3-ton brick.
So, Steve, the next question that everybody talks about is infrastructure. Are we ready? Do we have enough? Are we getting it quick enough with the volume of cars that we're putting on the roads?
Well, you're 100% right there, and you hit the nail on the head. So the infrastructure hasn't really caught up yet, and it hasn't for a long time. So Australia lags behind the rest of the world, importantly when it comes to public charging. So public chargers in Australia, we're about 1 in for every 86 cars before this latest sort of uptick.
Really?
Yeah. So and the global average is 1 in 11. So we're way behind, and that's kind of skewed by the Chinese. So the Chinese market has a lot of charging infrastructure. But yeah, so it's expensive. The government's trying to do some things.
It's expensive.
Yeah, so very expensive. So the actual charger infrastructure and to get the poles and wires to the residential areas or in public spaces where they could put chargers is very expensive. The charger itself, like a fast charger, is roughly $1 million, just the hardware. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot to repay that. So I think how much do you pay for a kilowatt hour at the moment?
So fast charger, I think, is 88 cents.
Yeah, so 88 cents into $1 million. That's a lot, right? So it's going to take a long time to get that investment
And
back.
all my friends go, Jordan, you've got electric vehicles because you've got solar panels and batteries. Yeah, cool. I say, no. Whenever the sun's out, I don't want to be at home. So it's not a yin and a yang.
Yeah.
It's actually understanding what infrastructure and how you're going to use it. So yes, I use my home charger on a weekend when I'm at home when the sun's out, but not often.
But interesting, I think you would know because you've got 2 electric cars. So you have to plan your trip. You have to know where you're going. You have to know if there's going to be charging there, and to know that you have enough charge to get there and back. So it's just a different way of thinking. I think for long term, people will get used to it.
The accounting brain's great, right? Because mathematically, I know the distance and I have the algorithm to know how to get home or not.
Yeah.
There's only been one occasion where I've woken up in the morning and gone, bugger, I haven't charged my car overnight and I've got to drive a long distance. Then it's about, I think, knowing sort of strategic charges that you're used to.
Yeah.
I think there's also a familiarity of how to use a charger. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about, it's really hard and you've got to log in and there's a QR code or it never works or I'm going to get there and the thing's going to be broken or there's going to be 10 people lined up, right?
Well, and funny, consumers tend to react to the 1 or 2% situation and their needs. So you see people who have a family of 5 or a family of 4, and they buy a 7-seater because they might have friends who want to get in the car. Or someone who needs to tow a boat, so they get a ute or they get a diesel when they don't typically need a diesel for 85, 90% of their travel. So it'll be interesting. It's a hard thing for consumers to get over. And that mindset change is a big part of it.
So having a crystal ball, what are the things to help improve that infrastructure? Is it on government to roll it out? Is it on service stations? Is it on people to install, or developers to install chargers in properties? Yeah. Where does it sit?
I think it has to sit with government. And government either to roll it out themselves or to subsidize private investment in that area. Because as I said earlier, the ROI is just really, really terrible, and it's infrastructure. So it's kind of hard to get private enterprise to invest in infrastructure.
But if it's a planning requirement or something like that, then it's a novel way of government pushing it onto to the supply.
Speaking of novel ways, the New South Wales government is looking at what they've done in Europe and in the UK, where they have charging little outlets on poles. So you can charge on the public roads.
We've got plenty of those, right?
It works quite well. So there's different ways of doing it, and giving access to people, especially people in apartment buildings who don't have parking, or they may not have a space. They can park on the street and still charge.
You used to be able to buy a Tesla and part of the purchase was a charger.
Yeah, that's correct.
They don't sell a charger anymore because most people are in apartment blocks and they don't they're using public infrastructure. They're never going to charge at home. Let's talk to sale phase, right? We've run it for a long time. It's like my iPhone. Nobody really wants it because the battery's fried. What's that market looking like, and how have we seen that change?
Yeah, look, and again, up until the last 2 months, this has been a huge issue for EVs. Typically, around year 2, they lose half their value. That's changed, clearly, the last 2 months. Speaking to my friends at Pickles, Brendan Green, he said they've had a 100% clearance rate every week in March and April. And Teslas, for example, have gone up by on average 12,500 per unit.
Wow.
So there's definitely a market now.
And is it more analytics on validating the strength and the quality of the battery? Is that how it's capitalizing, or is
there's
it
a
more...
lot of that? Yeah. So there's a lot of testing in the batteries. The batteries are actually holding up a lot longer than they expected. So lab tests on batteries were saying they would last maybe 8 to 10 years. In real life, they're lasting over 12 years,
Wow.
keeping 80% charge. So the good news is, opposite to what normally happens, real life use of these batteries they're really holding up. So I guess it's all good news in the end. And I think we're seeing a big shift. There's actually an article just came out today. We're seeing a big shift, and consumers are actually downgrading out of a new petrol or a newish petrol vehicle into a used electric
Wow.
or plug-in or hybrid. So used cars in that segment, either battery, plug-in, or hybrid, are just absolutely flying.
Thanks, Steve. What an area that we're both hugely passionate about. An industry that potentially was in distress or wasn't going as well has now really flourished in an uncertain time. We're seeing electric vehicles fly out the door, so watch this space. For those tuning in, thank you very much. Please like and share. Look forward to seeing you soon.